Hello and welcome to another episode of The Tipping Point, a UFC show right here on the Monk Maddox channel. I am your host, Monk, aka The Monkmatician, and in this show, we're going to be breaking down Alexander Volkanovski against Brian Ortega. That's right, the main card, full breakdown, every stat you could want to know. And the goal of The Tipping Point here is if you don't know which way you're leaning, by the time you're done with this show, hopefully we'll tip you in the right direction. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Volkanovski and Brian Ortega. This is going to be for the featherweight championship of the world. Both guys, Volkanovski's 5'6", 71-inch reach, orthodox fighter, 32 years old, almost 33. In fact, he'll turn 33 4 days after this fight. Professionally, he is 22-1, 9-0 in the UFC. 34.8% of his fights have gone the distance. 8 decision wins, 0 losses. 52% of his professional fights have come by ended by way of knockout TKO. 11 wins, 1 loss, and 13% of his pro fights have ended by way of sub. 3 wins, no losses. So only one finish for Volkanovski one time he's been finished, rather. Brian Ortega, 2 inches taller at 5'8", but 2 inches less reach, 69-inch reach. Switch stance fighter, fights most of his time at southpaw though. 30 years old, 15-1 professionally, 1 no contest. He's 7-1 in the UFC. 31% of his fights do go the distance, 5 wins by decision, 0 decision losses. 25% of his fights end by way of knockout, 3 wins, 1 loss, and 43, almost 44% of his total professional fights end by way of submission. 7 wins there, no losses. So between the two of them, we've got, 37 professional wins and 14, 10, 24 finishes. Only 2 finish losses between them. Current fight time, Alexander Volkanovski averages time in the championship rounds, 15.14 minutes. That is the longest average fight time in the featherweight division. 13.66 ass whoop index. 0.49 power index, so 34 out of 70, so right at the halfway point. And then a 0.22 chindex, which is also right at the halfway point of the division. Not great, but not terrible. Ortega averages 12.5 minutes a fight in the UFC, 0.56 ass whoop index, so significantly lower than that top 6 number that we saw from Volkanovski. 1.03 power index, very good number there, 16th highest, and an okay chindex, 0.14 compared to 0.22 from Volkanovski, so a little bit better a little bit better chin statistically has Brian Ortega. Volkanovski opened at minus 185, a bit of line movement. He's now minus 165. Ortega opened at plus 160. He's currently plus 136. This fight is a pick'em, doesn't go, or even odds, doesn't go to decision. Minus 130 does go to decision. Excuse me there. I'm capping this fight at about 61.5% Volkanovski, 38.5% Brian Ortega. I like this Volkanovski at minus 165 line. I bet Alex Volkanovski at minus 165 earlier today. And yeah, we're going to go into why. I'm a big Ortega fan. Don't get it twisted. I'm a big Brian Ortega fan. I love watching that guy fight. It's some of the most fun fights that I've ever seen have been not only in this division, but from Brian Ortega. And something against Alexander Volkanovski is going to be absolutely insane. So the finish win rate in the UFC for Ortega, 85.7%. He's got 6 finish wins, 1 finish loss. I mean, most of Volkanovski's fights have gone to decision here in the UFC. There's some fight finishing graphs for you. Yeah, 3 knockout wins, 3 sub wins for Ortega. And then most of Volkanovski's fights have been wins by decision. He does have 3 finished wins in the second round. Ortega has 1 round 1 finish win, 1 round 2 finish win, and 4 round 3 finish wins. That's quite a number there. He did get finished his one and only time in the 4th round. by Max Holloway, I'm pretty sure. And there's the graphical round data. Lots of round 2 and round 3 finishes here. So not many in the first. That is something to think about. I'd be very surprised if this ended in the first round. Ass whooping index and a win. Decent number for Volkanovski, 27.24. He's never lost via finish in the UFC, I should say. And has a very good ass whooping per decision rating, 5th highest. But Ortega has that beat, 2nd highest, and a decent number in the finish loss category. Volkanovski here, basic striking data. This is going to be a theme of this whole breakdown. Look at all this green. Green is good. Red is bad, okay? Green is good. 6.02 strikes landed per minute for Volkanovski, 8th highest in the division, just under 56% accuracy, 7th best accuracy in the division. Gets hit with only 3.3 strikes against per minute at a 60.37% defense. His significant striking differential, 2.71 per minute. That is the 3rd highest striking differential in the featherweight division. I mean, his accuracy or his efficiency, he's 16% efficient in his striking. He's fought 70% of his total fight time at distance, which is a pretty good number there. When he throws over 100 strikes, significant strikes, and that's happened 8 times out of 9 in his UFC career, his average is about the same, actually, just under 6, but he has won 100% of those fights. I don't even know why I'm reading this. He's undefeated. Brian Ortega has landed 4.29 strikes per minute. That's 29th out of 70 featherweight fighters in the division. 38.09% accuracy. He gets hit with a ton more. 6.28 strikes per minute. 6th highest number in the division. 52% defense. Striking differential is the opposite of Alexander's. Negative 1.99 strikes landed per minute differential. 64th out of 70. Has a negative 10% striking efficiency. Fights 84.2% of his total fight time at distance. That's the 5th highest number in the division, which is kind of surprising from a guy like Ortega. He has decent groundwork. His striking game is not great, but he prefers to spend all of his time standing. Which, hey, who am I to argue? He's 7-1 in the UFC, 1 no contest. Let's see here. Knockdown numbers. 4 knockdowns for Volkanovski, 0.44 knockdowns per 15 minutes. 1 knockdown against in his career. KD per 15 differential of 0.33. He's won every fight in which he scored a knockdown, and he also won the fight which he got knocked down. Brian Ortega, 5 knockdowns, 0.66 knockdowns per 15 minutes. Also has been knocked down once, 0.13 knockdowns per 15 minutes. 0.53 KD per 15 differential. That is the 11th highest number in the featherweight division. Much like Volkanovski, he has won 100% of the fights in which he scored a knockdown, and he did in fact win the fight in which he was knocked down as well. Basic takedown data. Volkanovski lands over 2 takedowns per 15 minutes at a 34.5% accuracy. He gets hit with 0.66 takedowns per 15 minutes at a 72.7% defense. Very good defense. Again, over 70. That's what you want to see as far as defense. He's got a 3.75 takedown shooting rate, which is above average for the division. His takedown per 15 differential, 1.43. Very good. And also a positive takedown efficiency at 7.27%. Ortega on the other side, again, all this red to all this green. 0.8 takedowns landed per 15 minutes. Takedown accuracy only 21%. Gets hit with 1.46 takedowns per 15 minutes. 56% defense, so not a good defense. 48th out of 70. I mean, his takedown shooting rate is just over 2%. His differential is negative. His efficiency is negative 22.5% as far as takedowns go. Takedowns landed in wins for Volkanovski. I mean, it's the same numbers as above, so we don't even have to go into that. He's attempted 2 or more takedowns in 8 fights. He's faced 2 or more takedown attempts in 5 fights, and obviously won every single one of those. Ortega lands half a takedown per 15 in his wins. In his losses, he lands 3 times that, which I find strange. Basic control time data. Again, Volkanovski's category. Every single number is better for Volkanovski here. He's got a 7, almost 8-to-1 control time ratio. He controls 4 minutes out of every 15 minutes of fight time that he fights. 29.91% of his fight time has come inside the distance, and he's controlled 88.5% of that grappling time. That is crazy. He's got the 4th best get-up time in the division, 46.5 seconds. That's phenomenal. He's got a decent hold down time, a little bit better than average, 114 seconds. His control time activity rate is an 11.1. Just know that that is a decent number, 23 out of 70. So he's not just laying and praying or, just holding people against the, fence fucking people. His control time, goes up 2% when he attempts 2 or more takedowns, and that's happened in 8 of 9 fights. On the other side, Ortega, all these, he gets out-controlled, Brian Ortega. 6.8% for to 9% against. And, for a guy that likes submissions, that's probably why he gets out-controlled. He doesn't mind being on his back. In fact, some might say he prefers it with the poor striking numbers that we saw above. He's got a very good get-up time, top 10, 55 seconds. His hold-down time is okay at 78 seconds. He's got a decent control time activity rate as well, better than Volkanovski. Let's see. He fights 15.8% of all of his time inside the distance, but he's only controlled 43% of that time. Like I said, he likes to fight off of his back. He does not mind that at all. Control time against goes from 9 to 18, so it doubles when he faces 2 or more takedown attempts, and that's happened in 4 of 9 fights. Submission data, 3 submission attempts for Volkanovski. He has been unsuccessful in all. No one's attempted to sub against him. Ortega has attempted 8 submissions. 3 of them have been successful. No one has attempted a submission against him. 1 reversal for Volkanovski, 1 against, and 1 for Ortega as well. And then as far as striking data goes, this is mostly Alexander Volkanovski again. The accuracy, the defense, the volume, the defensive volume. He's got the most leg strikes landed per minute in the division at just under 2. He throws 2.5. These numbers are crazy good. 7th highest ground strikes landed per minute. And everything for Ortega, every number is run-of-the-mill. Maybe a couple above average numbers, but most of them are average to below average. Striking efficiency and differentials. Head striking we're positive everywhere for Volkanovski. Inside the distance, he's 78% efficient. That's a crazy good number. 1.3 head strike differential per minute. 1.27 distance striking differential per minute. Half a clinch strike. A whole ground strike. 1.5 leg strikes per minute. come on. Ortega, he's negative efficient everywhere as far as striking goes, except for inside the distance, and then he's only 1% efficient. Negative 1.6 head striking differential. Negative 2.15 distance striking differential. The only place he's positive is inside the clinch and on the ground, and even then he's barely positive. As far as headhunting goes, definitely not a headhunter, Volkanovski. 67% of all significant strikes that he throws have gone to the head, 9% to the body, and the highest in the division, 23% to the legs. Only 76% of significant strikes thrown from Volkanovski have been at distance. 8.5% inside the clinch, and 14, almost 15% on the ground. Ortega, a bit more of a headhunter, but not too bad. 87.74% strikes thrown to the head, 9 to the body, and 5% to the legs, but he loves striking from the distance, 94%. Only 2% from the ground and 3% inside the clinch, which I do find interesting and low. Which tells me, he likes to be off the ground, but then he's just getting beat up and probably just hoping for a sub to catch an arm or something. Last 5 5-0 is Volkanovski. 4-1 is Brian Ortega. Volkanovski owns the striking numbers in the past 5. They each have 3 knockdowns, and Volkanovski has been knocked down, but everything else is Volkanovski's, and it's not even close. The takedown numbers are Ortega's. The defense is definitely Volkanovski's. 63% takedown defense in his last 5 compared to 25 for Ortega. Control time is the same. I mean, looking decent. The takedown numbers, not much there for either one, I should say. Or ground numbers. Significant strike differential is crazy big. There's a 4.5 strike differential here. 1.88 for Volkanovski compared to negative 2.77 for Ortega. Takedowns landed per 15. Differential is a bit better for Ortega. Control time doubled for Volkanovski. Ass whooping index is 7.38 for Volkanovski compared to 0.44. Ortega has the better power index and the better chin index, though. Now, this is interesting. Volkanovski is trending down in almost every single category here in his last 5 fights compared to his career, whereas Ortega also trending down, but only in half the categories. But it is pretty even. In fact, the big one, though, Ortega down 31% takedown defense, is down in the past 5 compared to his career. That is just awful. Strength of schedule based on the past 5 professional fights. In this case, they are both the UFC fights. Much better strength of schedule for Volkanovski, and Brian Ortega's strength of schedule is pretty good. 70 to 75 is a decent strength of schedule. Ortega is over 75 in a couple of these categories, but Volkanovski's over 78 in all of them and has no defeats. Very, very good. His last 5 opponents average record 22-6. Pretty good there. Compared to 21-7 for Ortega. So not much of a difference, but it is still significant. Last 5, we got, 2 wins over Holloway, back-to-back. Jose Aldo, Chad Mendes, Darren, some good names there, especially those last 3. Ridiculous names. Ortega beat Chan Sung Jung, lost to Holloway, beat Edgar Swanson and Renato Moicano. And a lot of these weren't close. The Moicano fight he did win with a negative ass whoop index, which I always find interesting. Let's take a look at that. He got outstruck by almost 3.5 strikes per minute. 2 takedowns landed against, and he got outcontrolled 2.5% to none, but still, that's interesting. The Cub Swanson, that was that crazy sub. Knocked out Frankie Edgar with an uppercut from hell, I believe. Lost to Max Holloway in the 4th round, yep. So some really good fights from these guys. People say Holloway beat Volkanovski in these fights, but according to the metrics, not only do I think the judges got it right, but I don't think, that's a positive ass whoop index in both of these wins. He won the fight according to the metrics. Then we get into some graphs here. Statistically, Volkanovski is far above his opponents in the last 5 fights when it comes to striking. It's not close. He is trending down, but just barely. 6 strikes landed per minute to 4.2. It's not close. Takedowns could definitely use some work. He is currently above his opponents, but just barely, and he is trending down. Control time trending down as well, but still way above his opponents. 11% to 2%. Nothing really to be worried about there. Ortega trending up as far as striking goes, and opponents are trending down, which he definitely needs. Because in his last 5, he's getting outstruck 7.7 strikes to less than 5. Takedown numbers, he's trending way up, and his opponents are trending down, and in fact, he has surpassed his opponents. And control time, same thing, pretty much 5 to 1, and he's trending up while his opponents trend down. So some good-looking ground graphs there for Ortega. Sorry, a little water break there. Visual statistical what's that? Oh, no, I don't drink water out of plastic bottles. This fucking guy. Visual statistical recap, basic fight metrics. Volkanovski has Ortega beat everywhere except for time fought at distance. Fight finishing metrics, they've both been knocked out in their 1 loss. Never been subbed. Ortega has the better sub numbers, Volkanovski has the better power numbers, and both with amazing win percentages. As you would expect, Volkanovski has no defeats in the last 5, so no strength of defeat, but a better strength of schedule overall in the numbers where he does have data. Aggregate win, loss, and finish rates. So add up their careers. What do we have? a 95% win rate, 66% finish rate. 100% of their losses have been have come by way of finish, as we've said. Same in the UFC, and 56% of their finishes or of their wins have been finishes. So I don't know. I personally think that this is going to go all 5. I'm leaning Volkanovski. I'm thinking Volkanovski by decision. That's really kind of what I'm thinking here. Would I be surprised if Brian Ortega, got one of his guillotines or a triangle? No, of course not. But I think you've got to think that that's all Volkanovski has to be drilling at this point for the past however many weeks, is not leaving his neck out, securing a takedown securing a takedown with your head on your opponent's non-dominant side, or just trying to secure it and get your head out of there and get your head the fuck out of there when he's on the ground. If I was Volkanovski's camp, I would just be drilling the let him get up move over and over again, because if you don't want to go against Ortega on the ground, Volkanovski has 3 sub wins in his career, but this is Brian Ortega we're talking about. So it's no joke. But that said, I do have a bet on Volkanovski at -165, to win 1 unit or 2 units. I don't remember. I'd have to look. But I might be putting money on the fight goes to decision. It's -129 right now. I don't really like that number, but that might be what we're looking at here. Maybe the over 2.5 will look better. We'll have to wait a couple of days for that. But yeah, guys, that's kind of how I'm leaning in this one. Those were all the numbers I could possibly bring you for the main event of UFC 266, Alexander Volkanovski against Brian T. City Ortega. This is going to be an incredible fight, you guys. 2 losses between them. Volkanovski is undefeated in the UFC. Obviously, he's the champion. Is Ortega going to be able to secure that gold? If he wins, it's going to be by finish, I think. And my, won't that be incredible if Ortega gets a finish here. Like I said, I do have a little bit on it, but I'm going to keep it pretty low, I think, because I really want to enjoy this fight. It's going to be really good. So thanks a lot for sticking around, just over 20 minutes for this one. I really do appreciate it. Be sure to check out, I also have 3 videos out right now. The early prelim breakdowns for UFC 266, the prelim breakdowns, and the main card breakdowns. So I do all the stats for all 14 fights that we have coming up for UFC 266. So get your number study in, guys. Make sure to pair it with your tape study. Go watch fights. You get to watch all the Nick Diaz fights for your tape study. How fucking awesome is that? You get to rewatch Robbie Lawler and Rory McDonald. You have excuses for all of this tape study. It's so amazing. Put them together like fucking Voltron, baby, and let's chop the heads off these bookies. Thanks a lot for sticking around. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.